Hey there, what's going on guys? Ash here, back again with another Radiant Black review, this time talking about issue 35. And issue 35 brings an end to the very first story arc within the rebuild era of Radiant Black, but not only that, it brings the Jaeger story arc to a close for now, as I get the feeling this isn't the last we've seen of Jaeger, and Jaeger will probably show up in the nearby future of Radiant Black, or probably be lurking in the distance, no doubt about it. But if you've read the issue and you know how it ends, I get the feeling this isn't the last we've seen of Jaeger. Now, last month's issue, you had Jaeger kicking the shit out of Marshall and giving him an ultimatum. Leave or die, and if you don't leave, I'll kill everyone you know and care about. And the first target he has on his list is Marshall's mum, where he's getting close enough to put the moves on her, so that way he can end up killing her once he's nice and close. And this issue picks up where that last issue left off on, where you had Jaeger under the alias of Roger getting close to Marshall's mum to put the moves on her, so like I said, get close enough to kill her. But Marshall gives Nathan's mum a warning with everything going on, with, I guess, the best that he can tell her with everything happening by saying, look, just get out of there right away, things are going to get messy. And of course, things get messy right away when you have Marshall crashing through the wall of the pool area and spear tackles Jaeger out of the building, and another fight ensues between the two of them, this time Ava showing up on the scene once again. And Jaeger is a freaking badass because you've got the two Radiants ready to square up and fight up against him, and he just revs up his bike, revs it up really fast, jumps off it, does a flip, he takes out one of his detonators, and blows it up as Marshall tries using his gravity powers to stop it. And that is really freaking badass that he did that move. Not only that, he just walks through the fire and flames and he clotheslines Marshall. And through the mess of everything, he grabs Ava, stabs her with his knife and says, take me to Thalia Hall, you know where it is, take me there now. And this is when the issue ramps up and all the plot twists start coming into play, where you have the Radiants inside of this giant concert hall in Pilsen, Chicago. And we get a little bit of backstory about this place of what happened in one of the other worlds, where in the other world, this concert hall that they're fighting in is a crater incinerated by one of the quasars during a K-pop concert. And apparently it was full, packed with the house, standing room only, hundreds of kids. The lucky ones died instantly, most weren't lucky. So we get a little bit of backstory of what happened with this area in the other world. But Jaeger's big speech continues, and he gets quite a few of them within this next couple of pages, where he says to Marshall, maybe you think you can manage the carnage, but you can't, trust me. And I bet you've never even thought about it, right? Just some collateral damage in your little robot game. Oopsie doopsie, who cares? We do. And we're not going to let you do that here. So you have Marshall and Ava, and they're surrounded by all these different people, all these soldiers of the Robotech. And Marshall wants Ava to get out of here by saying, get to a hospital, it's me they want. And Ava's like, no way I'm going. But Marshall's like, just get out of there. And although she's able to get out of there, you still have Marshall pinned down by all this alien tech that's able to hurt him. But like I said, Jaeger's speech continues by he says, the invasion was over. This was supposed to be a fresh start. But well, it's like a smoke detector running out of batteries. It'll be fine, but then out of nowhere, a teeny tiny beep of a reminder, and I keep waiting for it to stop and then beep. So I thought wrapping up the loose ends would fix it, but there was one last big thing. And the more I thought about it, knowing that you'd still be up there, somewhere, waiting, I thought I couldn't live with that. That alarm would be going off for the rest of my life. Yeah, and I'm glad I stuck around. The only distance I feel comfortable from you is 6 feet above your dead body, which is kind of a cool badass line, I will say that. But while this is all going on, because, you know, Marshall got sniped by one of the alien techs here, he gets pinned down and he gets sort of jumped by all these different grunts that Jaeger has working for him, and they're sort of kicking him, they're beating him and stuff like that. And he's almost he's almost about to get blasted right in the head by Jaeger, but suddenly you have Mariposa, like I said, I can't pronounce her name, I'm not the best at Spanish, but she shows up with her gang to sort of take on the other gang. So we've got seemingly a brand new ally for Radiant Black. But the reason why she's helping Marshall here is because when she was first introduced and the silo came crashing down, he was able to save some of her boys, and she views that as we're even now and we can't afford this heat going on right now. So Marshall is simping all over her by saying, you're super hot and stuff like that, and he's like apologizing as well. So that's kind of funny. But then you have Jaeger, who's like, I'm surprised the gangbanger is protecting the murderer. Fine, you're part of this too. So he's willing to deal with her as well and take her out. So then you have this fight between Mariposa and Jaeger, and it's pretty freaking amazing with everything going on because she's able to use those wings in the back as swords, and Marshall's like, wait, there's swords now? Why don't I get a sword? Which is a good question as well. But you've got Mariposa and you've got Jaeger getting into a fight with each other. You've got Jaeger's helmet slowly cracking off once again, and we kind of get a glimpse of who this guy might be, but we kind of know who this guy is. We'll get to that in a bit. But Mariposa, she's barely able to hold her own against Jaeger. And Jaeger is seemingly about to go for the killing blow with everything going on. But Marshall stops him. And this is when we get the big reveal of who Jaeger actually is. And Jaeger's true identity is Roger Neff. And it's the Roger Neff from another timeline from the Catalyst War. So now at the start of this rebuild era, we do see Roger Neff, who was tied up in a bathroom and had their throat slit. That was the Roger Neff of this world. The Roger Neff from the Catalyst War killed this world's Roger Neff and assumed his identity. And although we get the name drop of Roger in last month's issue, that totally slipped my mind. But when I went back and I reread issue 32, when you have Marshall sort of parked outside Roger Neff's house, there's this one scene that you've got to pay attention to. It's when Roger is looking out the window and he sort of sees Marshall take off. And this is a broken mess of a man with everything going on, because he says that when Marshall failed, when the quasars went off, he was parking in the parking lot and he was supposed to be there for his family, but he wasn't. And then eventually he said that he found Marshall's friends and they told him that they'd put him in a place where this wouldn't happen, but then he was placed in this universe where there was a Catalyst War. So I can understand if he's having some kind of post-traumatic stress with everything going on, because he says that every time he sees Marshall or he sees Radiant Black, he sees himself prying the wedding ring of his wife off her jumbled mess of fingers, or he's gathering up the body parts of what was left of his daughter. And he says there's only two ways to turn off this alarm that's going off in his head when he used the smoke alarm analogy. And he's like, turn it off, Marshall. Turn this off for me, which is giving Marshall that ultimatum that he said before by saying, leave or die. Leave or die, make this nightmare go away, because he's never going to get over this. And Marshall is like, he hears everything that's going on, and he's like, he drops the knife where he says, look, that wasn't me, but I'm sorry. I'm trying to be better. I'm not going to kill you, but I'll talk to my friends to see if they can put you in a place where you can see your family. And Jaeger doesn't like the sound of it. He says, you killed my family. And I get where he's coming from with that. Like, he had his original family killed. No matter what timeline he gets put in, no matter what alternate reality he gets put in, that original family that he lost is gone for good. It's not like Rick and Morty rules where you can just live with a different family and try to live a different life. I mean, he tried that already, but he's still living with the hatred and post-traumatic stress of what Radiant Black did in that other timeline. He holds that grudge against alternate world Marshall to this Marshall. But Jaeger tries to get the jump on Marshall by picking up the knife and trying to get a backstab, but Marshall just simply blasts him and he gets knocked through the wall, and when Marshall tries to find him, he's already taken off. So I can definitely tell that this isn't the last we've seen of Jaeger. Like I said at the start of the video, if Jaeger is nowhere to be found, then he definitely took off running, and we'll probably see him again in the nearby future within the next couple of story arcs, probably, because, you know, he's still got all that alien tech on him. He's still got that hatred for Radiant Black. So he could probably show up within like the next story arc or so later down the line. Who knows? But this isn't the last we've seen of Jaeger. And now we've got someone that Marshall has to sort of live with, where his actions in the other timeline fucked someone up really badly that they're out to get him. And like I said, this isn't probably the last we've seen of Jaeger. Jaeger will probably be showing up again soon. So after that big battle, a few days pass and you have Marshall getting a call from Nathan. And although you don't hear Nathan talking on the other side of the line, you kind of get an idea of how this phone call went down, where Marshall talks about kicking Jaeger's ass, and if he's going to come after anyone, it will be him, because, you know, it's Marshall that he hates. But then you have this line where you don't know what Nathan said to Marshall, but Nathan says, look, I know Ava said the same thing and I appreciate it seriously, and I'm just getting there slowly, but it's good to hear, thank you. So you can see that even after everything that's happened, like Marshall is slowly, he's dealing with it bit by bit with everything that happened and sort of the baggage of everything that's going on. So he's got some good support. I like that. Marshall's got some good friends that's going to help him out. He's still in contact with Nathan. He's got Ava as a roommate who's very supportive of him. So that's good to see. So these last two pages, or these last few pages, this is when things get really interesting. So Kieran soon shows up at Marshall's place and says, hey, remember when I told you to keep a low profile and you didn't do any of that? Well, they didn't trust that I had the situation under control and you've got a brand new boss. So he turns on the TV and there's this speech going on by this guy in a suit. And I believe we don't know who this guy is. If we know their name, I'm sorry that they don't ring any bells for me. But they go on to make this big speech about the history of everything that's happened in Chicago, by saying now we've got divided gangs and external agitators and stuff like that. And Chicago has been buried in rubble and they'll slowly rebuild. But behind them is a bunch of people in these suits with this alien tech. They kind of look like Snake Eyes in a way, but more high-tech in a way, you could say. But this is Marshall's new boss, apparently, who will be taking orders from. So this is kind of a game changer. I probably missed this last part. It's probably going to go over my head because, you know, if there's lore that I'm missing, then I have no idea of what's going on. But it looks like some government officials who are higher above might be giving Radiant Black orders now. So there's a new guy in charge, and it's no longer Kieran. So we'll see where that's going to go next in the next couple of issues, because next month's issue is going to be a Radiant Yellow focused issue. So I'm really looking forward to that, because it's called Long Life of Radiant Yellow. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where that goes, that is for sure. But Radiant Black issue 35, it brings an end to this whole Jaeger story arc, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing where it was going to go month to month. And where we got with the conclusion of this story arc, I feel like it ended on a pretty satisfying note with everything that happened. And I can't wait to see where it's going to go next moving forward, because it looks like the tides have changed with everything going on, or the chain of commanders changed with who's giving orders now for Radiant Black. And we'll definitely see where that's going to go moving forward. But anyway, guys, what did you guys think of this month's issue of Radiant Black? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Tell me in the comment section down below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And I will see you guys later. Peace out. Take care. Bye.